Do you feel insecure? Do you constantly compare yourself to others? Do you feel that your self-esteem fluctuates, depending on criticism, likes, or other people's opinions? Then stop everything you are doing and listen carefully. The ancient Stoics, such as Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, mastered the art of building such solid self-esteem that nothing in the world could bring them down. Not losses, not praise, not insults. They didn't just survive turbulent times, they flourished. And today, we're going to show you 15 Stoic keys that can completely transform the way you see yourself and relate to the world. Subscribe to the channel here and turn on notifications. Click like and let's get to the content. Grab a pen and paper, or at least pay close attention, because these lessons can change your life. 1. You are enough. Epictetus. The basis of Stoic self-esteem is self-acceptance. We live in an era of constant demands. Society, social media, unrealistic standards, advice that confuses more than it helps. They all scream at you that you need to be more beautiful, more productive, richer, more interesting. And in all this noise, we forget a silent, powerful, and profound truth. You are already enough. This is not a catchphrase to comfort you. It is a philosophical truth that Epictetus, a freed slave and one of the greatest sages in history, taught with conviction. For him, true freedom was not external, it was internal. And it began with self-acceptance. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This is perhaps one of Epictetus's most famous quotes, but what does it really mean? It invites us to stop measuring our worth by life's circumstances, by defeats, judgments, past mistakes, or achievements we have yet to accomplish. It reminds us that what really matters is not what the world says you are, but how you choose to live, think, and act. You don't need approval. You don't need perfection. You don't need applause. You just need virtue. And what is virtue for the Stoics? It is living with courage, wisdom, justice, and self-discipline. It is making decisions based on principles, not on momentary desires or external pressures. It is being your own master. Accepting yourself is not settling, it is freeing yourself. Self-acceptance does not mean stagnation. It does not mean giving up on growing, improving, or evolving. On the contrary, it means recognizing that your starting point is good enough, that you don't need to fix who you are in order to become worthy of love, respect, or value. You are already worthy now, just as you are, with your flaws, with your virtues, with your scars and your dreams. True, Stoic self-esteem is not based on the illusion of perfection, but on the truth of imperfection, accepted with responsibility. Epictetus teaches us, peace begins when you stop fighting against yourself. You are not here to compete with anyone. You don't have to run an invisible race to prove your worth. You are here to live with presence, purpose, and steadfastness. If something needs to change in you, change it for the love of virtue, not out of shame for yourself. Improve because you want to flourish, not because you believe you will only be worthy after change. This is the Stoic secret to indestructible self-esteem. Accept yourself deeply, and then align your life with virtue. And if you remember one thing today, remember this. You are enough, not because you are perfect, but because you are human. And because, as Epictetus said, your true greatness lies in how you choose to live, not in what the world thinks of you. 2. Control what is within your control. Freedom, peace, and self-esteem begin here. One of the greatest teachings of Stoicism, perhaps the most transformative of all, is also one of the simplest to understand and most difficult to apply. Some things depend on us, others do not. Epictetus. This distinction between what is within our control and what is beyond it is the foundation of all wise living. And yet, we spend much of our days trying to control exactly what has never been within our reach. Want to see? We try to control what others think of us. We try to change the past with endless regrets. We try to dominate the future with anxiety and predictions that never come true. We try to control other people's behavior, their choices, their words, their emotions. And in doing so, we waste our most precious energy, our attention. Self-esteem weakens when you live outside yourself. It's as if we were unconsciously saying, "I'll only be enough if the world treats me well." But Stoicism proposes the opposite. True strength comes when you turn inward and govern yourself. You don't control the world, but you control how you act. You control what you think. You control what you say, choose, and believe. This is not resignation. It is liberation. The trap of the illusion of control. How many times have you felt anxious, insecure, frustrated, just because something didn't turn out the way you wanted it to? How many times have you blamed yourself for not being able to change someone, or for not having done things differently in the past? But think about it. Can you control other people's sincerity? Can you go back in time? Can you guarantee that you will never be rejected, criticized, or judged? No, and that's okay. The Stoic does not flee from the world. He simply accepts what he cannot change and invests all his energy in what he can. The kingdom is within. Epictetus said that we are free from the moment we understand that our domain is in our judgments, our actions, and our minds. And Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote in his diary, "You have power over your mind, not over external events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That is freedom. That is power. That is real self-esteem, knowing that you are capable of living with integrity and peace even when the world outside is in chaos. So breathe and ask yourself, is this within my control? If the answer is yes, act with clarity, courage, and virtue. If the answer is no, let go with wisdom, lightness, and serenity. This is the path of the Stoic. This is the path of those who choose peace. 3. Don't depend on praise, because those who live for applause die for silence. We live in a society driven by validation. Likes, comments, hearts, numbers. Everything seems to revolve around being noticed, recognized, approved. But Stoicism warns us, the soul becomes tinged with the color of your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. If your thoughts are always focused on what others think of you, your soul will be tinged with anxiety, with insecurity, with dependence. Compliments are sweet, but they are also dangerous. Compliments may seem harmless. Who doesn't like to be recognized, right? But that's exactly where the trap lies. When you start basing your worth on the applause you receive, you hand over your sense of identity to someone else. Without realizing it, you are saying, "Tell me who I am. Tell me if I'm good enough. Tell me if I deserve to be seen." And when the praise doesn't come, when silence arrives, when someone criticizes you or simply ignores you, your self-esteem crumbles. The Stoic doesn't need an audience. Marcus Aurelius, even though he was emperor, wrote for himself. He didn't seek applause, he sought virtue, because he knew true value is not in what others see, it is in what you cultivate in silence. The world can change its mind every day. Today you are admired, tomorrow forgotten. Today you are applauded, tomorrow cancelled. But your character accompanies you every day, everywhere, in darkness, in silence, in solitude. And it is with your character that you sleep at night. Real self-esteem does not need the spotlight. It is born when you live in peace with your principles. When you act with integrity, even if no one sees you. When you are kind, even without thanks. When you refuse to be manipulated by the desire to please. Because you understand that you didn't come into this world to be applauded. You came into this world to be whole. If you live for praise, you will die for criticism. But if you live for virtue, nothing can shake you. The beauty of Stoicism is this. It invites you to a kind of freedom that no one can take away. You free yourself from the judgment of others, and also from the burden of trying to be perfect. You begin to live to be true, and that is enough. So today, before seeking approval, seek consistency. Before wanting to be noticed, want to be fair. Before pleasing, choose to be firm. The world changes, opinions change, praise passes, but your character remains. And in the end, that's all that matters. 4. Love fate, amor fati. Saying yes to life is the beginning of freedom. Amor fati, This little Latin expression, used by the Stoics, carries one of the most challenging and most liberating ideas a human being can embrace. Love fate. Not just accept it, not just tolerate it. Love it. When you love what happens, you become indestructible. You no longer live in denial. You no longer blame luck, others, or time. You just live, present, whole, available for whatever comes, with the strength to transform pain into power, failure into lessons, wounds into character. This is the Stoic, one who walks in peace, even amid storms, because they have already made peace with their own destiny. So today, if something turns out differently than you wanted, don't ask, why did this happen to me? Ask, how can I grow from this? That is the question of the wise. That is the essence of amor fati. That is the path to unshakable self-esteem. Don't compare yourself. Because while you look at others, you forget to see yourself. We live surrounded by showcases, social media, other people's achievements, edited lives, forced smiles, and it's easy to fall into the trap. He's ahead of me. She's prettier. They've already made it, and I'm still here. But Stoicism invites us to stop, to breathe, and to remember, as long as you look at others, you will never see yourself. Seneca. This phrase is a call to wake up, because comparison is a subtle form of blindness. You begin to see the world, but you stop seeing yourself. Comparison is poison for self-esteem. When you compare, you lose, always, because you are judging the other person's stage from behind the scenes of your life. You see their results, but you don't see their sacrifices. You see their smile, but you don't see their tears. You see their success, but you don't see their internal struggles. And worst of all, by focusing on someone else's path, you abandon your own. You get distracted, you sabotage yourself, you get frustrated, because now you're living by a standard that doesn't belong to you. You're trying to win a race that wasn't made for you. Each person walks a unique path. Seneca knew this, and the Stoics constantly remind us. You're not here to outdo anyone else. You're here to outdo yourself. Your only criterion for progress should be this. Are you a little wiser, calmer, and steadier today than you were yesterday? If so, that's enough. You are moving forward. In your own time, in your own way, on your own path. Don't compare yourself, get to know yourself. Instead of asking, why am I not like them? Ask, who am I and who can I become? You weren't made to be a copy. You were made to be whole, original, authentic, aware of your journey. Puditi, Stoic self-esteem is born when you stop chasing the mirror of others and start looking in the mirror of your soul. There you will find truth. There you will find peace. There you will find the only comparison that matters, you with yourself. So today, let the world follow its course, and follow yours, with determination, with virtue, with focus. Because your value is not in how much you resemble others, but in how true you are to yourself. 6. Practice true humility, because true self-esteem is quiet. We live in a world where confidence is often confused with exhibitionism, shouting about your merits, showing off every achievement, proving all the time that you are worth something. But the Stoics took another path, quiet, steady, and much deeper. Stoic self-esteem is not arrogance, it is humility. It is knowing your worth without having to prove anything to anyone. It is walking with your head held high, but your heart at peace. It is recognizing who you are, without noise, without vanity, without spectacle. The greatest Stoics were emperors and slaves, and none of them believed that status defined character. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in Rome, wrote to himself every day, reminding himself of his own fragility and mortality. Epictetus, a mutilated slave, became one of the greatest philosophers in history, teaching that true freedom comes from within. They lived opposite realities, but shared the same principle. True greatness is invisible to the hurried eye. True humility is knowing your worth, without having to shout about it. It's not about diminishing yourself. It's not about hiding, and it's not about inflating yourself either. It's simply knowing that your dignity doesn't depend on likes, knowing that your value doesn't change because someone praised you or ignored you, knowing that your conscience is worth more than any applause. Stoic self-esteem is silent but rock solid. It doesn't need a stage. It doesn't need to be the loudest in the room. It just needs to be aligned with virtue. Because those who walk with integrity don't need the spotlight. The glow comes from within. So practice true humility. It's not about hiding your gifts, but not using them as trophies. It's not about denying your worth, but not trading it for approval. Be firm but kind. Be confident but modest. Be great but discreet. After all, as Seneca taught, true greatness is being master of yourself. And remember, you don't need to look important. You just need to be whole. 7. Use difficulties as training. Because life is not against you. It is shaping you. Epictetus, one of the greatest masters of Stoicism, was born a slave. His body was marked and his freedom denied. But instead of rebelling against fate, he turned it into discipline. And he left us one of the most powerful lessons in practical philosophy. Difficulties are not punishments, they are exercises. Every obstacle is an invitation, a silent call for you to become stronger, wiser, more steadfast. But to do that, you need to change your perspective. You can see adversity as punishment, or you can see it as training, because it is in fire that steel is formed. It is in discomfort that courage is born. It is in chaos that a steadfast soul is revealed. Face each challenge as a gym for the soul. Frustration, training in patience. Rejection, training in detachment. A mistake, training in humility. A failure, training in resilience. Unfair criticism, training in serenity. You begin to realize that nothing is happening against you. Everything is happening for you. And the reward, real self-confidence. Not the kind that comes from external praise, but the kind that comes from within. That quiet voice that says, I went through this. I didn't break. I'm stronger than I thought. This self-esteem is not built with sweet words. It is built with overcoming, with courage, with every time you choose to get up, even when you're bleeding inside. Life will test you, not to destroy you, but to reveal you. Epictetus reminds us, what hurts us teaches us. No situation is bad in itself. What matters is how you react to it. You can complain, or you can use it. Use every difficulty as a stepping stone, as a hammer, as a forge, because you are not here to live comfortably. You are here to grow. And so, the next time something hurts you, ask yourself, how can I use this as training? That question changes everything. It takes you out of the role of victim and puts you in the role of protagonist. And that's where Stoic self-esteem comes from. Not from luck, but from overcoming adversity. 8. Meditate daily, because inner clarity is the soil where true self-esteem flourishes. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man in the world in his time. Emperor of Rome, commander of armies, ruler of empires. But every day, amid the chaos, battles, and dilemmas of power, he would retreat to a quiet place, his mind. There he would write, think, observe himself, not for others, for himself. These writings became what we now call meditations, one of the most profound books ever written about the human soul. Meditating is not escaping from the world. It is preparing to face it. For the Stoics, meditation was not an esoteric ritual. It was a daily practice of self-knowledge and strengthening of the soul. Sitting for a few minutes in silence to examine yourself. What did I do today that was worthy? Where did I react impulsively rather than wisely? Am I acting according to my values or seeking to please others? What can I improve tomorrow? These simple questions build something powerful. Awareness. And where there is awareness, there is clarity. And where there is clarity, there is strength. Those who know themselves trust themselves. Most people are lost because they have never stopped to listen to themselves. They live reacting, repeating patterns, going with the flow. But you don't have to be like that. You can do as Marcus Aurelius did. Set aside some time each day to align yourself with your principles. Even if it's just 5 minutes before bed, writing a sentence in your notebook. Or in the morning, breathing quietly and reviewing your intentions for the day. The format doesn't matter. What matters is the commitment to yourself. Daily meditation builds 3 pillars of Stoic self-esteem. 1. Self-awareness. You begin to perceive yourself more clearly. You stop being a hostage to your emotions. You gain choice. 2. Consistency. By reviewing your thoughts and actions, you align theory and practice. And nothing strengthens self-esteem as much as living consistently. 3. Inner confidence. You get to know yourself. And those who know themselves sustain themselves. You become an ally to yourself, not a stranger. If Marcus Aurelius, with the weight of an empire on his shoulders, found time to reflect, so can you, and you should. Because silence is not the absence of action. It is where the best actions are born. So today, before you end your day, close your eyes, breathe, and ask yourself, what did I learn about myself today? The answer, however small it may seem, will be another brick in the construction of your inner fortress. And that fortress is called self-confidence. 9. Act with virtue, not vanity. Because good deeds done in silence are worth more than loud praise. The world cries out for recognition. Likes, applause, rewards. People doing the right thing, but waiting to be seen. Living not for the truth, but for the spotlight. But the Stoics chose another path. Quieter, more difficult, more free. The Stoic acts with virtue, not out of vanity. Virtue is doing the right thing even when no one is looking. You don't seek goodness to be applauded. You seek goodness because it is the right thing to do. And that is enough. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote to himself, "Stand firm like the rock that the sea continually beats against, and that remains immovable while the waves break around it." That rock is virtue. The firm foundation on which you build your life, even if no one is watching, even if no one applauds. Vanity is fickle. Virtue is indestructible. When you live for vanity, your value depends on others. But when you live for virtue, your value comes from within. Vanity needs to be constantly fed. Virtue does not. It renews itself in silence, in discipline, in fidelity to your principles. And that is where Stoic self-esteem is born. Not from appearance, but from integrity. True strength lies in doing the right thing and keeping quiet about it. Helping without telling anyone. Being honest when it would be easy to lie. Doing your duty even when no one is watching. Refusing to take the shortcut and choosing the right path. These small daily choices shape something great. Character. And character is the only thing that no one can take away from you. And you don't need to be seen to have value. You just need to be true. If today you have to choose between looking good or being good, choose to be good. Quietly, firmly, humbly. Because as Epictetus taught, be beautiful on the inside, and in time it will become visible on the outside. And at the end of the day, ask yourself, was I true to my principles today? If the answer is yes, then you have won, even if no one noticed. Because the greatest victory is to be at peace with your own conscience. 10. Recognize impermanence. Everything in life is transient. Youth fades with time. Titles lose relevance. Success can be fleeting. If we build our self-esteem on these unstable foundations, we will always be at the mercy of circumstances, sometimes feeling great, sometimes feeling empty. The Stoics, such as Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, already warned us. Everything outside of us is uncertain. The true foundation must be character, something we can cultivate with intention and maintain regardless of what happens around us. When we recognize impermanence, we begin to value more what is under our control: our actions, values, and attitudes. Beauty fades, but kindness remains. Success may fluctuate, but integrity sustains. By accepting that everything passes, we develop a quiet and lasting strength, a self-esteem that does not depend on external applause, but on an internal commitment to who we truly are. Impermanence, far from being a tragedy, can be liberating. It invites us to live with more presence, more humility, and more authenticity. After all, if everything passes, let what has value remain. 11. Practice emotional self-sufficiency. Being loved is a gift, but not a necessity to feel complete. True emotional freedom comes when you understand that your value is in no one's hands but your own. When you stop depending on the approval, affection, or attention of others to feel good, you begin to experience an inner strength that is silent but unshakable. Emotional self-sufficiency does not mean closing yourself off or rejecting affection. Rather, it means loving without losing yourself, being with someone without losing your identity. And above all, it means recognizing that your happiness is no one else's responsibility. True self-esteem comes when you learn to accept, respect, and support yourself emotionally. You become your own home, a safe place where you can rest, even on days of loneliness or rejection. This does not make you cold or insensitive, but mature. After all, those who are whole love more lightly, more freely, more sincerely. When you practice emotional self-sufficiency, you discover that being alone is not the same as being empty, and that being whole is a gift that only you can give yourself. 12. Visualize adversity, premeditatio malorum. Imagine the worst. Visualize the losses, the failures, the rejections. Think about everything you fear most, not to suffer in anticipation, but to strengthen yourself. The Stoics called this practice premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, a mental exercise to face head-on the possibilities in life that we prefer to avoid. By imagining what can go wrong, you begin to prepare yourself emotionally. You train your mind to deal with the unexpected, with pain, with instability. And as you prepare, fear loses its power. Because fear often arises from shock, from the false idea that everything must go exactly as planned. But life is not predictable. It requires resilience more than control. By practicing premeditatio malorum, you are not surrendering to pessimism, but embracing reality with courage. You understand that you may lose and yet continue, that you may fall and still get up. Where there is no fear, there is presence. There is clarity, there is strength, and strength is not the absence of pain, but the ability to go through it with awareness and dignity. 13. Surround yourself with virtuous people. You are deeply influenced by those you choose to have around you. The conversations you engage in, the examples you observe, and the values that circulate around you often silently shape the way you think, act, and even see yourself. The Stoics knew this. They didn't just seek companionship, they sought virtue. They were mindful of the kind of influence each person brought. They avoided those who merely entertained or distracted them, and drew close to those who challenged them to grow, to reflect, to act more wisely. Surrounding yourself with virtuous people does not mean excluding those who are imperfect. We all are. But it does mean choosing to walk alongside those who inspire righteousness, courage, honesty, and compassion. People who lift you up, even without words. Who do not feed your vices but encourage your virtues. Your self-esteem is strengthened in this environment because you see yourself reflected in values that you recognize as noble. And by aspiring to excellence, you reconnect with what is most upright in yourself. So choose your companions wisely. Prefer depth over superficiality, truth over comfort. example over applause, and over time you will realize being among virtuous people is one of the greatest acts of self-love. 14. Live with purpose. There is no solid self-esteem without direction. Living only by reacting to each day, chasing empty goals, or seeking constant approval is like sailing without a compass. You may be moving, but you won't get anywhere that really matters. Purpose is what gives meaning to the journey. It's what keeps you going even on difficult days. When you live for something greater than your own momentary desires, whether it's contributing, serving, creating, teaching, healing, or protecting, you find a kind of strength that doesn't depend on external recognition. The Stoics taught that a good life is one guided by reason and virtue. In other words, a life with purpose. They knew that true value lies not in what you achieve, but in why you do what you do. Living with purpose means aligning your actions with your deepest values. It is knowing why you wake up every morning and acting consistently with that. This alignment brings self-esteem that does not sway with the wind because it is born of meaning, and meaning nourishes the soul. When you find your purpose, life ceases to be mere survival and becomes contribution. And in this surrender, you discover yourself to be more whole, lighter, more alive. Quindici, memento mori, remember death. Remembering death may seem gloomy, but it is actually a call to life. Memento mori, said the Stoics, remember that you will die. Not as a threat, but as a reminder of the urgency to live with truth, purpose, and presence. Awareness of finitude is liberating. It cuts through excess, ego, and aimless haste. When we remember that time is limited, we begin to choose better where we place our attention, with whom we spend our days, and which battles are truly worth fighting. Many live as if they were eternal, postponing dreams, silencing their voice, accumulating grievances, and worrying about the judgment of others. But death, inevitable and impartial, reminds us there is no time to waste on what does not matter. Memento mori invites us to live with courage, to be who we truly are, to love more deeply, to forgive more easily, to say what needs to be said. When you understand that everything can end at any moment, you stop living on autopilot and start truly living. Remembering death is, paradoxically, an act of love for life, because only when we face our finitude do we understand the value of each moment. These 15 lessons are more than just ideas. They are invitations to transformation. Stoicism does not build inflated self-esteem. It builds real, firm, serene self-esteem, indestructible self-esteem. If this video touched you in any way, leave your like, subscribe to A Voz do Sabio, and share this content with someone who needs this inner strength.